So I noticed myself being in my head too much, and I don't mean in a way where I'm just like having ADHD, or I do have it, but it's not like I'm just having random thoughts all the time. But whenever I try to like perform something, that's going to achieve my goals, it always felt like I had some resistance. Even right now, like I know, especially now that I'm doing YouTube, I always like. When I try to make a video, I usually have to sit on the camera for like 10 minutes to like think of what I'm gonna say. Not the exact same words, but what topics I'm gonna talk about. Or is this gonna be the way it's gonna work for me? So just right now I'm gonna try to freestyle it a bit to see how it'll go. But that's just kind of one part of it, just YouTube. While the other part is also my martial arts. I already talked about it in the last video, and also mentioned in the last video that I started reading Psycho-Cybernetics again and trying to improve my self-esteem. And it's going pretty well for me right now. But now I read the half of the book, I believe, like not half, like I read 100 pages. Now in recent chapters, it said that you're not supposed to have too much conscious thoughts if you want to achieve something. You have a thought in mind, that's your like goal, and let your brain do the work by itself. So I'm just kind of trying to do it right now. I just turned on the camera, and I knew I'm gonna talk about it, so I'm just gonna do it like how the book says. It says it's very important because for example, it's in the book in the book says that uh, those geniuses you see, like who have achieved something great or had this like new invention or something like that, they always they never had this idea, they never got this like idea that to make something extraordinary or solve a problem if during the work. It usually happens when they're resting or just doing something different entirely because they're not having too much conscious effort. But now it is important that you have desire and that you actually thought about what you want to achieve. That's important. But what's hindering the performance is worry, which you do by consciously thinking about stuff. And yeah, just thinking about it too much, I guess. Like you think, oh my god, is this gonna work out for me? Or I usually it's that. At least for me, like, am I going to really achieve this? Like when I usually hear this some advice, or I should try something like this, and I usually think to myself, nah, I do it, but I'm having kind of this mindset of worry that it's not gonna work for me because usually never goes anything goes in my way. And that's part of the self-esteem part that I mentioned last video. You can talk about, you can see it more there. It's kind of more of a tutorial than me just yapping, but yeah. Also in the last video I mentioned that I think it starts like that worry mindset because not the worry exactly, but your low self-esteem comes from childhood. Like most of the things, like the most of the way you think is basically come to childhood. What your mindsets are, what your beliefs are, and you have to see what's good out of those stuff and what's bad. What do you want to keep and what do you want to change? And those bad stuff are usually when people tell us, okay, you're not gonna achieve anything, or you're not good at this, but you really wanna be good at that. Like, let's say you're kind of a coward, but you try to do uh, martial arts. That's kind of my case. I always been scared of not just fighting, really anything I did, like anything that kind of involved some kind of risk. I was always scared of it. And and really up until I think 2 or 3 months ago, I had problem with fighting because of my fear. That's because that was one part of it, and I finally kind of like figured out that what I need to do. You just, of course, you need to relax and just practice more, have more sparrings, just get used to the fact of the uh, that it's not that scary to get hit. It usually, and I also noticed like in sparring that when someone hits me and when I was scared, it would hurt more. Like I get punched and it would hurt more. But now last Sunday I was sparring some big guy, okay, and I kind of got the big shot. Like I think he threw my right hand on my forehead, and it's kind of like one of those like when you get hit. If you do martial arts, when you get hit, you're kind of it kind of makes your eyes close and you see like all white, kind of like a flashbang. So it was like that, and I noticed myself. It usually when came, when usually that happened to me, I would actually feel some hurt and I would feel scared a bit. But I noticed like at that moment when it happened to me that I wasn't that scared, and it didn't hurt as much as it used to. Or maybe I just get used to being hit. I really doubt is that because like it happened all of a sudden. Like as soon as I stopped having this kind of a fear, think kind of when I lost that fear at the same time, I became good at sparring, and it stopped hurting as much. Yeah, of course, that's my point. And that also happens when you're like in your head too much. You're thinking, "Oh my God, I'm gonna get hurt," or "Oh my." Or this is not gonna work out. That's kind of like the whole point here. So just try to get advice from me. Like whenever you have something to, you kind of have this worry, you're of not gonna achieve this, or really anything like you going to the dentist. Like that's kind of one thing. If you kind of have fear of dentist, just okay. You kind of say like, okay, do I have to do it today? If you have appointment today, just the how do I put this? You don't. You just focus on your current task. You don't, and just try to stop thinking as much of about it. You kind of used my tactic that I talked about trauma. You just say, okay, like for the dentist example, you just say, okay, yeah, that'd be scary, like going to the dentist. You just kind of say to yourself, okay, is this scary? Is this stressful? And just kind of let it sit there. Also try to relax while you're doing it. And it's just gonna pass. And once that moment comes when you enter, it's gonna be all right already. That's when most of the times it happens, and when you do worry, you of course hinder your performance. That's one part, but also you it's not just, I mean, yeah, pretty much you just hinder your performance. But the other thing is, I'm sorry, I'm kind of not focused now. But also oh my God, I'm not focused at all. But also, yeah, once you like decide yourself you're gonna do this, you can't really do much about it, and it just doesn't make sense to worry at that point, right? You just like, let's say you have to perform something, you kind of have this speech of some kind, and you're scared, but you already decide, okay, I'm gonna do this, so I'm just gonna. There's nothing much I can do about it. Yeah. When that fear comes up, yeah, it's scary, and most of the fear comes from actual thoughts, which when you think about it really makes sense. If you can't really think, you can be scared, because like the fear comes up when I say, okay, this is gonna happen, it's gonna be bad, and I'm gonna be humiliated, kind of. If you have a speech like, okay, I'm gonna go on the stage, I'm gonna say something embarrassing, or I'm gonna stutter, then everybody's gonna laugh at me, I'm gonna be humiliated, and that's scary. But if you don't have thoughts at all, it's of course it's not much easier, which, yeah, kind of working on that myself right now, that's what I'm saying. It like this kind of little rant. I haven't like I said at the start of the video. I just said I was just thinking, okay, I'm just gonna turn on the camera and talk about this now. So I'm just kind of freestyling it. It's also that part was also kind of scary, but when I turned on the camera, and started talking, it kind of felt much easier. That it is like, because when I do think about, okay, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say that, I always think, oh my god, for some reason this doesn't make sense, or people are not gonna listen to me. But anyways, that's kind of my rant for today. If you want, you can subscribe to my channel, leave a like. Also, you can join to my communities down in comment below. I'll see you there.